The rotor wash hammered the dirt into the air as the helicopter lifted away, leaving behind a sudden, dangerous silence. The compound sat half-burned against the mountainside, smoke drifting lazily as if nothing violent had happened there moments ago. Inside the perimeter, the SEAL team regrouped, counting heads, checking ammo, scanning shadows. One body lay still near the wall, another man bleeding behind cover. And standing among them, clutching a medical pack, was Lieutenant Emma Hayes. To most of the team, she was just the nurse. The one who patched bullet holes, started IVs in the dark, and stayed low when things went loud. She had heard the nickname whispered before. Not cruel, just dismissive. Just a nurse, not a shooter, not a fighter, someone to protect, not rely on. Emma had learned to ignore it. Tonight, she wouldn't have that luxury. The radio crackled with static and bad news. Extraction delayed. Enemy reinforcements moving fast from the valley. Too fast. The team leader, Chief Mason Cole, swore under his breath and signaled for tighter security. They were low on ammo, down one man, and pinned in terrain that favored the enemy. Emma knelt beside Petty Officer Ramirez, her hands steady as she sealed a chest wound. Blood soaked her gloves, warm and slick, but her voice stayed calm, professional. Ramirez's breathing was ragged, eyes wide with pain and fear. "Stay with me," she said quietly. "You're not done yet." A burst of gunfire cracked overhead, snapping into stone. Everyone ducked. Someone yelled a range estimate. Another voice shouted that they were out of grenades. Mason glanced at Emma, then away, already calculating losses. He didn't ask her opinion. He didn't think she had one that mattered here. The enemy fire intensified. Shadows moved along the ridge. Too many. Too close. Emma finished stabilizing Ramirez and looked up. Her eyes followed the ridge line, the angles of approach, the gaps in their coverage. She had seen this before. Not exactly like this, but close enough. Training exercises. Long nights on the range. She hadn't become a combat nurse by accident. Before medical school, before the uniform with the Red Cross patch, she had been something else. Something she rarely talked about. Another SEAL went down, screaming as shrapnel tore into his leg. Panic threatened to ripple through the team. Contact left. Someone yelled. They returned fire, but it was scattered, defensive. They were reacting, not controlling. Emma stood. Mason finally noticed her movement. "Hayes, get down." She didn't. She moved to the fallen SEAL, dragged him behind cover with surprising strength, patched the bleeding in seconds, then did something no one expected. She reached for the rifle lying beside him. A couple of the men stared. One actually laughed, sharp and disbelieving, before another burst of fire cut it short. "What are you doing?" Mason snapped. Emma checked the weapon with practiced efficiency. "Safety. Chamber. Optic." Her voice was calm, almost cold. "Covering your blind side." She stepped into position, braced the rifle, and fired. The shot echoed clean and precise. A figure on the ridge dropped instantly. Silence followed, brief but stunned. Then she fired again, and again, each shot deliberate, each hit unmistakable. The enemy fire faltered, then shifted, confused. They hadn't expected resistance from that angle. They hadn't expected her. Mason stared, disbelief flashing across his face. "Where the hell did you learn to shoot like that?" Emma didn't look at him. Focus on the perimeter. She adjusted her position, controlled her breathing, and kept firing. She wasn't spraying bullets. She was selecting targets, breaking momentum, forcing the enemy to slow, to rethink. The team rallied. SEALs moved with renewed confidence, filling gaps, coordinating fire. The fight shifted. What had been a desperate hold became a controlled defense. Minutes felt like hours. Sweat stung Emma's eyes. Her arms ached. Her ears rang. But she didn't stop. She couldn't. Not now. A rocket streaked toward their position. Emma saw it a second before impact and shouted a warning. The explosion rocked the compound, debris raining down, but the team survived because they were ready. Mason crawled beside her, eyes different now. Respect had replaced doubt. "We're getting overwhelmed on the right." Emma nodded once, adjusted her aim, and eliminated the problem. Finally, the radio crackled again. Extraction inbound. 5 minutes. The enemy tried one last push, desperate and reckless. Emma stood her ground. When her rifle ran dry, she transitioned without hesitation, grabbing another weapon, continuing to fire until the ridge went quiet. When the helicopter finally returned, the battlefield was still. The team boarded in silence, exhaustion heavy in the air. Ramirez was alive. The wounded were stable. No one else had gone down. Inside the helicopter, Mason sat across from Emma, studying her like he was seeing her for the first time. "Just a nurse, huh?" he said quietly. Emma met his gaze, then looked away. "I do what's needed." Back at base, the story spread fast. Faster than Emma wanted. Whispers turned into questions. Questions turned into respect. The men who had once dismissed her now nodded when she passed. Some thanked her outright. Emma didn't correct them. She didn't brag. She returned to her duties, checking vitals, changing bandages, staying late with the injured. That was who she was. But now, when missions were planned, someone always asked, "Hayes coming?" And when things went wrong, when plans fell apart and lives hung in the balance, they looked to her without hesitation. Because they knew the truth now. She wasn't just a nurse. She was the reason they came home.